At its core, polyamory quite literally means what its name states. Poly is Greek for many, and amor is Latin for love. So polyamory means many loves. When applied to relationships, polyamory essentially means romantically loving multiple people at once. Think about that for a moment. Feel it in your heart. Love. The core of polyamory is love. In our service today, we seek to share with the congregation a deeper understanding of polyamorous relationships by lifting up and centering on the voices and lived experiences of members of our community. Erin Shapleigh, she, her, previously attended First Parish services with her family for 6 years until COVID. Life has found a way of becoming busy, and her goal for 2026 is to return on a more regular basis. She was called to speak regarding polyamory and how it defines her family and her way of living. And Carrie Ives Fisher, she, her, has been attending First Parish since 2003 and has been involved in many First Parish committees. She is an interfaith minister and spiritual director, focusing on workshops, retreats, and leading the occasional worship service. Thank you both for sharing yourselves with us today. And now, Frances Killam will read Erin Shapleigh's words.
Good morning. I'm reading for Erin Shapleigh. In this faith, we say that revolution is not sealed, truth is unfolding, love is still speaking. For much of my life, I believed love was singular, a narrow path, clearly marked, carefully bordered. I believed belonging would arrive in a single form, and that if I could just find the right person, the equation would balance. But life, in its wisdom and in its hardship, widened the path. Living in a body shaped by medical challenges has taught me that certainty is fragile, that future does not always look the way we planned. And so I began to ask different questions. Not, what should my life look like, but what sustains me? Not, what is acceptable, but what is true? What became true for me was this: love is not a sacred resource, care is not finite, the heart is not a closed system. In Unitarian Universalism, we speak of covenant, of promises made freely and tended intentionally. Polyamory, for me, is covenantal love. It is not about abundance without responsibility. It is about abundance with accountability. It is about choosing again and again to show up honestly, imperfectly, faithfully. I was in my 30s when I first learned that love could expand beyond the shape I had inherited. Now, at 44, I am still learning. There are 3 of us in this marriage, and yes, a devoted 4th partner named the Google Calendar. Organization may not sound spiritual, but intention is sacred. Time is sacred. Showing up is sacred. I remember walking into this church for the first time, aware that the word poly might unsettle the room. I softened my language. I called myself a bonus mom, a friend, something easier to hold. I wanted belonging without disruption, I wanted acceptance without explanation. But this faith teaches that every person has inherent worth and dignity, not partial worth, not conditional dignity, inherent. Over 15 years together, Keeter, Matt, and I have practiced becoming visible. We have practiced communication as ministry. We have practiced forgiveness as ritual. We have practiced building a small, beloved community within the larger one. Our love does not divide, it multiplies. It does not weaken commitment, it demands it. It does not reject tradition, it asks tradition to grow. Polyamory, for me, is not about numbers. It is about living into a theology of expansion, a belief that love can be patient and kind in more than one direction, that family can be chosen and intentional, that care can be shared. In this community, we affirm that we are interdependent. None of us are meant to carry life alone. My polyamory is simply one expression of that truth, that we are stronger braided together than standing apart. Love is still speaking, and sometimes it speaks in plural.
Thank you to Erin for sharing those words and Francis for reading them. Thank you, Deirdre, for the introduction. And thank you to the Welcoming Congregation Committee for taking the service today to lift up polyamory, what it is, and that there are people within the congregation, like myself and my partners, who are polyamorous. I did not know the word polyamory when I began attending First Parish 20-some years ago. I did not know the word 4 years later when I fell in love with someone beyond the love that I felt for my husband. I saw 3 counselors in 6 months, and they all said, I must be wrong. They said that there must actually be something wrong in my marriage. My marriage was great. Was it perfect? No, but how many marriages are perfect? I have heard plenty of stories of people wanting to leave their marriages, but feel that they can't because of money or comfort or whatever. That was not my experience. I did not want to leave. If my marriage wasn't the problem, then they said that I must not actually love this other person. Believe me, I initially thought it was a crush. I thought the feelings would go away. I prayed for the feelings to go away. I made sure to limit the time spent around this person, hoping the feelings would go away, but they didn't. I could see that what the counselors were saying did not match what I was experiencing, but they had degrees in marriage and family therapy. What did I have? A hurting and confused heart. So I must be wrong. I was committed to living a good moral life. At that point, I was practicing Buddhism. One of the tenets is to refrain from sexual misconduct. I was refraining. I wasn't acting on my feelings. As a UU, I wasn't worried about going to hell, but since the counselors were not able to normalize my experience, I did believe that I was doing something wrong. So I must be a bad person, even though I wasn't acting on those feelings. As Deirdre said, polyamory means the ability to romantically love more than one person at the same time. I learned this from a classified ad that ran in the back of UU World magazine in 2007. It was sponsored by UU's for Polyamory Awareness, and literally it said, "It is possible to romantically love more than one person at the same time." I read that sentence while sitting in the middle of all these conflicting emotions, and I burst into tears. There was a name for what I was experiencing. I wasn't a bad person. I just had a different way of experiencing love. There is some question within the LGBTQ+ community of whether polyamory should be included under the rainbow umbrella. Some say polyamory is a lifestyle or relationship choice. Others say that polyamory is an orientation of how one feels love. I know of people who view polyamory both ways. I can say for myself that it is an orientation. After learning the word polyamory, I spent time researching the nuances of what it meant and whether it applied to me. One factor to consider was my dating history. I am one of those people who, since I started dating, have never been single long. Generally, while in a relationship, I fell for someone else. So I figured the only right thing was to break up with the current boyfriend in order to be with the new guy. This is what is called being serially monogamous. It is not universal, but it is common among people with an orientation toward polyamory. The choice factor is still there. After I learned about polyamory and recognized that it applied to me, coming out to myself, I was honest with my husband. I then continued to live a monogamous life with him for the next 10 years. During that time, very few people knew that I identified as polyamorous. I kept it hidden out of respect for my husband's wishes and to keep up appearances. I was in the closet. I chose to be in the closet because it felt like the better of two bad choices. After my marriage ended for unrelated reasons, I did not want to be in the closet anymore. I wanted to live truly authentically. I understood myself better than I had when I was younger, and I recognized that regardless of whom I was in love with at the moment, it was only a matter of time before I fell for someone else. My heart was capable of loving multiple people, and I no longer wanted to stifle it. When John and Tiffany and I moved in together, just after I separated from my husband, we could have passed. They could have been the married couple being kind to their friend. One neighbor thought I was one of their sisters. But we didn't want to pretend. I didn't want to pretend or keep our relationship hidden. I wanted our family and friends to know that these wonderful people were my loves. This community at First Parish has been so loving to us. I know many people don't realize we are a triad because Tiffany doesn't usually come to services. But we have friends that come to our house or that invite us to their houses. Most wonderfully, many people from this community attended our ceremony of commitment in 2023. Although I'll often use the word partner with people who don't know us, the three of us consider each other spouses. I have a husband and a wife, and I am so blessed. Perhaps this all sounds very romantic, and yet we still live in the same world that you all do. John and Tiffany are legally married for 23 years now, which means that legally I'm single. I cannot share medical insurance with either of them. On taxes, I am their dependent like a child. I cannot, rather than relying on the defaults if one of us were to die, we have to do extra paperwork to make sure the beneficiary designations are all carefully laid out. The three of us own our house together, with all three of our names on the deed, but the town databases only have room for 2 names. Our vet only has room in their computer for 2 pet parents. I'm listed in the notes as a 3rd guardian. Perhaps most concerning, I would not have any legal standing to see John or Tiffany if they went to the emergency room. I am thankful every day that we live in Massachusetts, where I can say my wife and not have anyone bat an eye. And no one has questioned us, even when the 3 of us are together in an ER. Recent changes to laws and sentiments in other states, however, have us feeling not safe. It's disturbing and sad that we felt more comfortable traveling to China this fall than we would feel going to Tennessee or Florida. There are legal protections that can be made for polyamorous families. Somerville, Mass. Was the first town to provide recognition for multiple domestic partners in 2020. Employees of the town could then have more than one partner on their health insurance. Hospital visitation was protected. Access to schools for more than 2 parents was granted. In 2023, non-discrimination in policing and employment were implemented. Similar laws have since been passed in Cambridge and Arlington. Although this is an amazing step, local laws do nothing outside of those towns. For example, if someone in those families has to go to Boston for emergency room care, they would be at the mercy of the beliefs of whatever nurse might be working that day, just like the rest of us. As much as good laws are helpful, perhaps what each of you can do is even more appreciated. The more people who understand what polyamory is and isn't, the less stigma there will be. No one picture of polyamory is the whole picture. There are many ways of being polyamorous. So please, ask questions and read and question what you see in the media. The more we can normalize polyamory, the more we can live our authentic lives. Thank you for opening your minds and hearts this morning and for making love a spiritual practice.